Her shoe was still on the floor. Just one. Black, heel scuffed. Lying sideways like it got kicked off in a hurry. That's the first thing I saw when I walked into the living room. Not her. Not him. Not the wine glasses or the echo of laughter that didn't belong to me. Just that shoe. It wasn't even supposed to be there. She kept her heels in a box in the hall closet. Neat. Organized. Quiet little routines like that were her thing. But that night, nothing was where it should have been. There was jazz playing. She doesn't like jazz. There were 2 glasses on the coffee table. We don't own those glasses. And there was a jacket draped over the arm of the couch. Not mine. I didn't call her name. Didn't ask. Didn't even breathe. I just stood there, in my own house, coat still on, watching the ceiling fan spin like it had somewhere more important to be. I should have left. But my feet moved on their own, like I was being pulled toward a moment I already knew I wouldn't survive. And then I saw it. Not them. It. The note. Just 4 words, scribbled in red ink on the back of an old utility bill. It wasn't supposed to. No punctuation. No explanation. Just that. I stared at it like it would blink. Then I heard a noise upstairs. Floorboard. Creaking. Someone moving. That's when I realized I was shaking. And not because I was scared, but because I already knew whose voice I was going to hear. And it wasn't mine. I didn't run. I didn't shout or storm up the stairs like some kind of action hero in a Netflix series. No. I walked, slowly, 1 step at a time, like my legs were carrying someone else's weight. Because it didn't feel like my life anymore. It felt like a scene I'd accidentally walked into. A scene already in progress, where I was just a background character with no lines. The creaking floorboard had come from our bedroom. That sound. I know it like I know the click of our back gate or the kettle's whistle when it boils too long. It's a soft groan in the wood, a tired little breath of a house that's seen too much. But that night, it sounded louder. Guilty. Like it had something to confess. I hesitated outside the door. It was half closed. A sliver of light bled into the hallway. I thought I heard whispering, but maybe it was just the blood thumping in my ears. I remember thinking, what if I open this door and I become someone else forever? What if there's no going back from whatever I see? But curiosity's a cruel thing. It doesn't care what it ruins. So I pushed the door open, and the bedroom was empty. At first glance, anyway. The bed was unmade, which was odd because Marla always made it in the morning. It was one of those little control things, the kind she did even when we were fighting. No matter what happens, she once told me, fluffing the pillows after a screaming match, we start the day with order. But that bed looked like a fight had slept in it and lost. Then I noticed the closet door. It was open just a crack. I stared at it, barely breathing, like it might move if I exhaled too hard. I don't know what I expected. Some cliché? Someone hiding? A pair of legs behind hanging coats? I stepped closer. The smell hit me first. Cologne. Not mine. Colder, heavier. The kind that tries too hard. The kind that clings to everything it touches, like it wants to leave a signature. And then I saw it. A tie, tucked behind my row of shirts. Not just any tie, a green one. Emerald, to be exact. I didn't touch it. I just stared. Because I'd seen that tie once before. Not in my house. Not on my clothes rack. But at the Winter Whispers ball. Around the neck of the man who danced with my wife like I was dead. I backed away slowly, heart racing but my body frozen in place. The closet, the bed, the note downstairs, it all blurred together into one long exhale of betrayal. But still, no Marla. No him. I walked back down the stairs, half expecting to see them materialize in the hallway like ghosts. I searched the house. Every room. The backyard. The driveway. Empty. No car. Just me. The jazz still playing on repeat, and that damned shoe on the floor. Then I realized something else was missing. My suitcase. The one I always kept in the hall closet for work trips. Gone. And so was her grandmother's stitched jewelry box. She didn't just cheat. She left. But she wanted me to find it first. She wanted me to feel it. And the worst part? I still wasn't sure if it was real. Or if I'd finally lost the only thing I had left, my grip. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I sat on the edge of the bed we used to share, staring at the crumpled blankets like they might start breathing. The cologne still lingered in the air. I could smell him every time I shifted. Her, too. Her shampoo. The soft trail of jasmine and peppermint she left on her pillow. It was like the room had trapped their scent and refused to let go. I didn't open the windows. I didn't light a candle. I didn't want to forget how it felt. Not yet. At around 5:30 in the morning, when the sky outside turned that awful shade of gray-blue that only shows up when your world is falling apart, I saw her laptop on the desk. Closed. Untouched. I don't know how I hadn't noticed it earlier. She never left it out in the open. She treated that thing like a second brain. But there it was, sitting like an offering. Or maybe a challenge. I hesitated. I'm not proud of what I did next. But if you've ever had your trust ripped out of your chest and stomped on, you'll understand. Curiosity isn't always about wanting to know the truth. Sometimes it's about needing to prove you're not insane. So I opened it. The screen blinked to life, soft and cold, and I held my breath as the password box appeared. I tried the old one. Us, 2018. It worked. She hadn't changed it. I don't know if that made it better or worse. The desktop was cluttered, folders with names like case files, invoices, court docs. Normal, boring. But then I saw one that didn't fit. It was tucked in the corner, almost out of frame. Private_M. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were 6 video files. No labels. Just timestamps. And one text document titled, "If you're watching these, I'm already gone." I didn't open the videos. Not yet. I clicked on the text file first. It wasn't long. No poetry. No explanations. Just this. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But that doesn't mean I'm sorry. I didn't leave because I hate you. I left because I couldn't be the version of myself you needed me to be. Maybe I never was. And no, it's not what you think. Not completely. That last line messed me up more than anything else. Not completely. What does that even mean? That she didn't sleep with him? That she did, but felt bad halfway through? That she planned to run, but only halfway? I didn't realize I was gripping the edge of the desk until my knuckles turned white. I closed the note and stared at the first video file. I should have deleted it. Should have thrown the whole thing off the balcony and gone back to pretending I was just unlucky, not ruined. But instead, I pressed play. And what I saw wasn't what I expected. It was her. But not with him. She was alone, sitting in the same spot I was sitting now, on the edge of the bed, eyes swollen from crying. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her voice cracked when she started speaking. If you're watching this, then I couldn't say it to your face. I wanted to. God, I tried to. But every time I looked at you, I felt like I was drowning in guilt I didn't even fully understand. I did something. But not just once. And it's not what you think. Please don't look for me. She looked straight at the camera. Right into me. Please don't dig. You won't like what you find. And then she shut the camera off. The video was only 43 seconds long. But it rearranged everything I thought I knew. Because now I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt warned. Like this wasn't a simple affair. Like this was something else entirely. And I hadn't even opened the other 5 videos yet. I waited almost an hour before opening the second video. Not because I didn't want to see it. Because I needed to breathe. Or at least remember how. I walked around the house like a stranger, touching furniture that didn't feel like mine anymore, passing framed photos of us that suddenly looked staged. Smiling corpses trapped in dollar store glass. I stood in front of the mirror in the hallway, the one she always adjusted slightly because it tilts like it's judging me, and stared into my own reflection, waiting to feel like a person again. But I didn't. So I went back to the laptop. The second video was longer. 3 minutes and 41 seconds. No title, no message. Just a timestamp in the file name. 3_12 a.m. MOV. I clicked play. She's in the kitchen this time. It's dark, except for the flicker of the fridge light behind her. She's barefoot, wearing that oversized hoodie I always thought she'd thrown out. The one I gave her during our second winter together, with the frayed sleeves and coffee stain near the hem. Her hair's a mess. She looks haunted. She starts speaking before she even sits down. I know what this looks like. I know how it's going to feel. But I swear to you, I never set out to hurt you. I stopped recognizing myself. And when I told you I was tired all the time, when I snapped at you for forgetting the groceries or overcooking the pasta, it wasn't about you. It was the weight. I couldn't carry everything anymore. Not the job. Not the expectations. Not the version of me I promised you I'd be when we got married. She wipes her face and forces a smile. It's the kind of smile you make when you're trying to convince a security camera you're fine during a hostage situation. And then he showed up. But not in the way you think. He didn't seduce me. He didn't even flirt, not really. He just noticed. Noticed when I changed my hair. Noticed when I had a bad day. Noticed when I was unraveling. And you. I know you tried. But it's hard to notice someone who's already pretending to be okay. Underscore. That last line hit me so hard I physically flinched. She paused for a long time. I thought the video froze. Then she leaned forward, stared right into the lens. But the thing is, the closer I got to him, the more I realized something was off. It didn't feel like falling for someone. It felt like sinking into a copy of myself I didn't recognize. He made me feel alive, sure, but in a way that was electric and wrong. Like touching a broken socket with wet hands. And by the time I realized what he really was, I'd already let him in. That's when her voice dropped. And her face changed. Underscore, he knew things about us. Things I never told him. Stuff I'd forgotten. Details about our first apartment. What we named the stray cat that lived outside our window for 3 weeks. He brought up your scar. The one you got in high school. I never told him that. Underscore. I paused the video. I actually slammed the spacebar. My heart was thumping so loud I thought I was having a panic attack. My scar? The one on my side from when I wiped out on a gravel trail at 16? She's right. I hadn't even shown her until we'd been dating for almost a year. I scrubbed back and rewatched the last part 3 times. She wasn't lying. She was scared. Not of getting caught, but of him. I let the video continue. I know this sounds insane. I know you're probably thinking I've lost it. But something about him, it wasn't human. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it in the coldest, most literal way. He knew things, and he said things, and every time I tried to pull away, it felt like he was already inside the next room. Waiting. She stood up abruptly. The screen shook. Underscore. I'm leaving this because if something happens to me, if I disappear, or you get a call from a number you don't recognize, don't answer it. Don't follow. And don't trust the version of me that might come back. Underscore. Then the screen cut to black. No ending. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the laptop for what felt like hours. Because suddenly, this wasn't about cheating anymore. Suddenly, this was about something else. And I didn't know if I should watch the next video. Or burn the whole house down. I didn't eat. Didn't shower. Didn't move from the desk for hours. The second video was still lingering in the background of my mind like smoke that wouldn't clear. Her voice, her face, that fear in her eyes, it haunted me more than any betrayal ever could. This wasn't the story I thought I was living. And as twisted as it sounds, I almost wish she had just cheated. A stranger in our bed? I could have handled that. But this was something I didn't have a category for. And the worst part? I was starting to believe her. The third video sat there like a loaded gun. Its timestamp was different. Not an hour. Not a day. It was from 2 weeks before she vanished. Before the shoe on the floor. Before the green tie. Before I had a single clue that our marriage was already buried and rotting under something I couldn't see yet. I clicked on it, jaw clenched, palms sweating. It opened with static. Not metaphorical static. Actual white noise, analog-style flickering static. The screen twitched like it had been corrupted. I almost thought the file was broken, but then the image settled, and I realized the camera wasn't on her this time. It was on him. I froze. He was standing in our bedroom. Not in front of the camera. No, he was in the background. Faintly blurred, like the lens wasn't focused properly. The video was shot from the dresser, which meant she must have set the laptop up before he arrived. That alone made my stomach turn. She'd known what was coming. She'd wanted it documented. But it wasn't what I expected. They weren't touching. They weren't speaking. In fact, she wasn't even in the frame yet. It was just him, staring at something just beyond the edge of the lens. His posture was wrong. Too still. Too precise. I know that sounds strange, but it's like he wasn't breathing. Like he was holding the room in place. He turned his head just slightly. Almost mechanical. The way an animatronic might in some outdated haunted house attraction. And then, slowly, he walked toward the mirror. Our bedroom mirror. He looked into it. And he smiled. Not at himself. At the camera. My entire body locked up. That smile wasn't right. It didn't reach his eyes. It didn't move. It was like someone drew it on. And then, clear as day, he whispered something. I turned the volume up. Replayed it 5 times. It sounded like he said, "You should have left the door locked." I wanted to shut the laptop right then and there. But I couldn't. Because something else happened. The frame shook. Not violently, but just enough to make me feel like the laptop itself had been bumped. And then Marla stepped into view, wearing pajamas I didn't recognize. Not something she would have bought. They looked too clean, too staged. She didn't look at him. She looked at the camera. At me. Like she knew I'd be watching. And she said, I didn't let him in. He laughed behind her. Not loud. Not amused. Like someone humming a song they didn't remember learning. She didn't flinch. Just stood there, still as death. Then, as if cued, he turned and walked out of the room. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. And she collapsed to the floor. The video ended there. No title card. No black screen. Just a hard cut. I sat back, heart hammering, breath shallow. I felt like I was shaking out of sync with reality. My wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, was filming secret videos of a man who knew things about my life he had no way of knowing. A man who appeared in my house, spoke to my camera, and walked out like he owned the air we breathed. This was beyond betrayal. This was something else. And I wasn't sure if I was scared for her. Or for myself. Because now I couldn't stop thinking. What if he wasn't a stranger? What if I had seen him before? What if he never actually left the house? I didn't sleep that night either. Not even the usual, pathetic hour I sometimes managed by curling up on the couch and pretending everything was fine for long enough to shut down. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window into the backyard where the motion light kept flickering on even though nothing was moving. I told myself it was a loose wire. A draft. Maybe a raccoon. But that was a lie, and I knew it. It wasn't just the videos anymore. It was the air in the house. It felt heavier. Like it had absorbed her absence and become something else entirely. The rooms had a different kind of silence now. Not emptiness, more like waiting. Like the walls had been listening and were now holding their breath for what came next. Around 4 a.m., I noticed something strange about the hallway closet. The door wasn't shut all the way, which was odd, because I always closed it. Habit. It's where we kept the vacuum, old scarves, the Christmas lights that hadn't worked in 5 years. Nothing important. Nothing worth leaving ajar. So I opened it, and I saw the attic string hanging lower than usual. I stared at it for a long time. We never used the attic. Never had a reason to. I think the last time I'd been up there was the year we moved in. Maybe to check the insulation. But there it was, swaying slightly, like someone had pulled it recently and forgot to tug it back up. I should have closed the closet and walked away. Instead, I pulled the string and climbed the ladder. It smelled like dust and insulation. Dry wood. Nothing unusual at first. I waved my phone flashlight around. It was mostly empty up there. A few sealed boxes, maybe some water damage in the far corner. I started to turn back, genuinely embarrassed that I thought I'd find anything. But then I saw the black crate. It wasn't a storage box. Not something from Target or Home Depot. It looked industrial. Steel corners. A lock that had been snapped open. It sat right in the middle of the floor, out of place and too clean. No dust. No cobwebs. Like it hadn't been up there long. I crouched and opened it, my hands trembling again. But this time not from fear. From some new, deeper emotion I didn't have a word for yet. A mixture of dread and certainty. The feeling you get when you're standing over the buried thing you know you shouldn't dig up. Inside the crate were several items wrapped in red cloth. I unwrapped the first one. A Polaroid camera. Old. Beat up. But it still had film in it. I unwrapped the next object. A manila envelope filled with printed photos. Dozens of them. Each one was of me. But not just me. Me. In places I didn't remember being. Standing in line at a gas station. Sitting on the bus. Sleeping on the couch. Walking through the grocery store. Some were blurry. Some were perfectly clear. But all of them were taken from a distance. None of them were from Marla's phone. She didn't even own a Polaroid. I dropped the envelope and backed away. My first thought was, she was spying on me. Some sick guilt project. Catching me being normal while she spiraled in secret. But even as that thought crossed my mind, I knew it didn't fit. She wasn't in control here. She'd never been in control. And then I noticed the small cassette recorder wedged in the side of the crate. It was already playing. I hadn't pressed anything. I hadn't touched it. But as I crouched closer, I heard a voice that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up like frostbite. It was him. Same tone. Calm. Measured. Too smooth. And what he said chilled me more than anything I'd read, watched, or imagined since this nightmare began. He's starting to notice. Soon, he'll find the attic. He'll find the box. And then he'll have to choose. Silence. Then a pause. And one last line, quieter, almost amused. Let's see if he watches the fourth video before it watches him. The recorder clicked off. That was last night. It's morning now. I'm still in the kitchen, still staring at the laptop screen, where the fourth video is queued and waiting. She's in it. I can see the thumbnail. Her face. Eyes swollen. One hand covering her mouth, like she's holding something back. But I'm not sure I can press play. Because for the first time since all of this started, I'm no longer sure I'm alone in this house. I should have waited until daylight. That's what a sane person would have done. Open the blinds, let the sun pour in, turn on the TV just to have noise in the room. But I didn't. I sat there in the cold, pre-dawn quiet, the shadows draped across the walls like they were listening, and I hovered the mouse over the fourth video. I told myself I was doing it to understand her, to trace her descent, to finally figure out what the hell this thing was and how it got into our lives. But deep down, I think I was looking for something else. Some kind of proof that I hadn't imagined everything, that I wasn't unraveling the same way she had. The moment I clicked play, I regretted it. It didn't start like the others. There was no slow fade in, no shakily set up shot of Marlo whispering into the webcam. The video opened mid-sentence, violently, as if the camera had turned itself on in the middle of a scream. Except it wasn't a scream. It was a choke. Marlo was sitting in the corner of the living room, knees pulled up to her chest, hands over her ears. Her face was pale, her lips trembling, and her eyes, I swear to God, they were bloodshot in a way I've never seen before, as if she'd been crying for hours, or days. She wasn't looking at the camera. She wasn't even aware it was there. And the audio was strange. The whole thing had this low-frequency hum underneath, like the sound you hear when your ears are about to pop. I turned the volume up, then back down again. Nothing helped. The hum just kept pressing, like it was trying to crawl under my skin. Then, in the background, something moved. Not fast, not dramatic, just deliberate. It stepped into the edge of the frame and paused there. Not a full body, just a sliver of a shoulder, a glimpse of fabric. Dark, matte, no shine. It didn't look like clothing, more like shadow pretending to be material. Like something trying to look human and not quite pulling it off. Marla flinched, but she still didn't look up. And then she spoke, not to the camera, but to it. "I did what you said," she whispered. "I told him. I left the notes. I played dumb. I didn't tell him about the attic. I didn't tell him your name. I did everything. Please, I did everything." Her voice broke. And then the camera, I swear to you, tilted slightly. On its own. She didn't touch it. No one did. But it shifted, slowly, intentionally, as if something behind the screen was adjusting its view. Like it wanted a better angle. I paused the video. Rewound it 30 seconds. Played it again. Same movement. Same timing. The camera was aware. And then Marla said something that made my entire body lock up so hard I could feel my jaw clicking. She said, "You promised he wouldn't see you until the 5th tape." Silence. Then her head turned. She was looking at me. Not the camera. At me. Through the screen. And she smiled. Not sweetly. Not warmly. But slowly, like she knew something I didn't. I slammed the laptop shut. Nearly threw it across the room. And for a second, just one sickening second, I thought I heard someone breathing right behind me. But when I turned around, the room was empty. Still, I didn't open the laptop again. I couldn't. Because I wasn't sure what would be waiting on the other side of the screen. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This wasn't even about Marla, or me, or some twisted love triangle I didn't sign up for. This was about something watching us, recording us, manipulating the story, and maybe replaying it. And if that fourth video was already watching me, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what the fifth one had in mind. But I knew one thing for certain. This thing, this entity, this presence, it wasn't done. And Marla? Whatever was left of her. She wanted me to finish what she couldn't. I didn't sleep the next night either. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I just sat in the middle of the living room with the laptop closed in front of me, and the fifth video queued silently in my head. The crate from the attic was still on the floor, the photos still spilling out like discarded memories I never lived. The recorder was dead now, no matter how many times I hit play, as if it had said everything it needed to. And I kept thinking about what she'd said in that last video. "You promised he wouldn't see you until the 5th tape." There was no more pretending. Someone, had inserted itself between us. Between me and Marla. And if I watched that final video, I had no doubt I'd see him clearly for the first time. But I didn't press play. Not right away. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in days. I left the house. I walked outside, barefoot, into the yard. The grass was cold and wet with dew. The sky was a soft, bleeding gray. I stood there and breathed in the air like it was the first thing that hadn't been tampered with. For a few minutes, I just existed. Quietly. Without noise. Without explanation. Without the weight of what I'd seen on those tapes. And that's when I heard it. A phone ringing. Inside the house. It was the old landline. We never used it. Kept it plugged in out of habit. More for emergencies than anything else. I didn't even know it still worked. But it was ringing now, loud and jarring, like it was calling from another decade. I stepped back inside and stared at it. Ring, ring, ring. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked back to the laptop and opened it one final time. Fifth video. Untitled. No timestamp. Just there. Waiting. I hovered over the play button, heart pounding, jaw tight. Then I pressed it. It was her. But not like before. She looked calm. Worn, but calm. Her eyes weren't wild. Her voice wasn't shaking. She was sitting in the middle of the attic, right next to the crate. It was open behind her, but empty now. Her hands were folded in her lap. She spoke softly. If you're seeing this, it means you didn't run. And that means you passed. I blinked. What? Underscore. I know you think I left you. I didn't. I was taken, piece by piece, over time. Not by him. Not directly. But by what he represented. Despair. Doubt. Emptiness pretending to be attention. That thing, whatever it is, it feeds on cracks in the story. But you didn't break. You watched. You endured. But most importantly, you chose not to finish it. Underscore. She smiled. A real one this time. The kind I hadn't seen in over a year. Underscore, he wanted you to end this the way I couldn't. To fall into the trap. To follow the thread until you were so deep in the maze. You didn't even remember why you started. But you didn't. You stepped outside. You breathed. You lived. Underscore. She leaned forward now. And for the first time, I noticed her wedding ring. She was still wearing it. I don't know if we'll ever find our way back. But if we do, this is the moment that saved us. And the screen went black. No glitch. No whisper. No shadow in the background. Just black. I sat there for a long time. Staring. Waiting. Half expecting something to reach out from the screen and pull me under. But nothing happened. Nothing except the silence. But this time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt peaceful. Later that morning, I opened every window in the house. I let the wind in. I burned the red cloth that had wrapped the photos. I took the crate apart with a hammer and dumped the pieces in a dumpster 2 towns over. And then I started over. Not by running. Not by forgetting. But by remembering that the only thing that darkness fears is being seen. 3 months later, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Not a Polaroid. Just a printed picture. Of Marla. Sitting on a park bench somewhere near water, reading a book. She looked healthy. Peaceful. Alive. On the back, just 4 words in her handwriting. I'm still choosing us. And this time, I believed her.